My 23 boyfriend, 23, identifies as straight, and it makes me feel weird. We're both men. In December, we'll have been together for 2 years, but we were close friends for about 6 years before we started dating. This isn't about him being on the down low, not out or something, because he doesn't hide the fact that we're together. All our friends know, our parents know. We go on public dates. We hold hands and kiss in public. And he introduces me to people as his boyfriend / doesn't have a problem with me introducing him as my boyfriend. We have what I feel is a totally normal relationship, except that he identifies as straight and tells people that he's straight when they ask. I've talked to him about this multiple times, especially when we first started going out. He had always said he was straight, and I was worried that he was looking for a chance to experiment now that we were in college, rather than a potential relationship, which isn't what I wanted. I even told him I was worried about that at the time, and after talking for a while he explained it as me being an exception. To be totally honest, I thought that he was just in the process of coming out. I remember telling myself that Nick Jonas in Camp Rock 2 was an exception, and that eventually he'd realize he was bi, or that his sexuality was more fluid. But since then, he's both casually and in a few more serious conversations reiterated that he's straight except for me. He says I'm the only guy he's ever been interested in. Part of me is okay with that, because I don't need or want him to use a specific label or identify in a specific way, and I can't tell him what his sexuality is, but at the same time, whenever he says he's straight or tells other people that he's straight, I get a weird feeling. It's like I feel out of place. I know he isn't denying I exist or something, but it does sometimes feel like a dig at our relationship. Like I said, I've talked with him about this several times, but I feel like I've been getting really close to telling him he's wrong about his sexuality, which doesn't seem like a healthy thing to do, also doesn't seem like it would be very productive. He once offered in the past to avoid talking about his sexuality with people. This was in college, so it was a topic that probably came up more often than it does for most people in queer student groups and stuff. But that didn't feel like a good solution because it felt overbearing, or that I was controlling which labels he could use. Other than this one thing, I'm very happy with him, and he actually brought up the topic of our future together post-grad school this week, as in if you thought about where we should move after we finish grad school. So the general direction of our relationship seems to be very long-term. I guess I don't really know specifically what question I have. I'm just wondering if anyone has any insight into this or has any suggestions on how to approach this in a new way that doesn't make me feel like I'm invalidating him and won't make him feel that way either. I guess ultimately, if this is how he identifies, that is okay with me. But I need some help getting around this weird feeling when I hear him say, "Too long. Don't read, my boyfriend identifies as straight, and that makes me feel weird. We're otherwise happy together, so I'm not sure what to do with my weird feelings without telling him he's wrong for identifying the way he does. I've been in the same situation as your boyfriend, saying that my current spouse was the exception. In my mind, it felt perfectly accurate, and it was never meant in a way to hide anything or hurt anyone. It wasn't until about 8 years into our relationship, we've been together almost 13 now, that I realized that I wasn't straight after all. Looking back on it, I should have probably identified as bi. That said, I do think your feelings are valid, but in the end, as long as he loves you and sees a future with you, I don't think there's much to worry about. I feel you, brother. A valid feeling to have. To put a positive spin on it, you must be super cool to be the only guy out of billions that he would go for. Fair play. I agree with a lot of other posters and feeling like the exception would make me feel uncomfortable and insecure. It would make me feel temporary. I don't fit into my partner's image of their future. I think it's valid to bring those feelings up with him. Not in a way that you're trying to get them to call themselves gay, but just that when they're holding hands with you and insist they're straight, it feels like being stabbed in the heart and saying that you're just a phase. You could discuss other responses. He could say that are more vague, and just avoid saying he's straight in front of you, but that might be a big ask. What about the term heteroflex? I used it for a bit before I'd explored enough with women to comfortably call myself You could use it internally and maybe even bring it up in a bit of a joking manner with your partner hetero, but you flex from a kinder way. It feels less like redefining their sexuality because it's mainly the word hetero, with just a small tweak. For me, early in my sexuality journey, it was less threatening to my overall identity than taking the full plunge to be. Be Curious felt like a juvenile porno girl thing, so I rejected.